My name is Marina Cole, and for 9 years, I was the backbone no one saw. I worked 12-hour shifts as a pediatric nurse while my family praised my younger sister, Lyra, the successful one, the star, the one who never paid a single bill. I covered the mortgage, the groceries, the lights that kept our home alive, while they gave her the glory. But one day, I finally stopped, and when the safety net disappeared, they learned who had been holding everything together. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. And for as long as I can remember, my life has been measured by comparison to the girl my parents thought shined brighter, my younger sister, Lyra. It was a Sunday family dinner. Meatloaf, cornbread, salad wilted slightly from sitting out. The four of us were at the table, my mother smiling like a pageant host, my father laughing too loudly at whatever story Lyra was telling about her latest brand opportunity. Somewhere between bites of mashed potatoes, my father said it again. We're just so proud of Lyra. She's really making something of herself. And the income, well, it's impressive. My mother nodded, as if she'd been waiting all day to say it. Yes, she's the successful one. Something in me snapped. I didn't shout. I didn't slam anything. I just looked up, rested my fork on my plate, and said calmly, "Then let your successful one pay your bills." Silence. Complete. Heavy. Final. I stood up, took my keys, and walked out. And somehow, the sound of my chair pushing away felt louder than everything they'd said my whole life. Growing up, our house sat on a quiet street lined with maple trees that blazed orange every autumn. It was a 3-bedroom ranch home with a small fenced yard, nothing grand, just ordinary. Ordinary fit me just fine. I liked ordinary, consistency, routine, predictability. Lyra, on the other hand, was never ordinary. She was 2 years younger than me, and from the moment she could walk, she had an audience. She had this effortless charm, bouncy curls, bright eyes, and a laugh that made strangers look up from their grocery carts. My parents adored that. They called her their little spotlight, their burst of sunshine, their future star. And me, I was the steady one, the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who did everything right, and was somehow still never quite right enough. In high school, I studied, volunteered at the clinic, and worked part-time at the daycare. I didn't have time for school dances or late-night adventures. I was planning for something stable, something meaningful. I wanted to take care of children, the ones who couldn't speak for themselves, whose little hands needed steady ones to guide them. Lyra tried college once. She enrolled at the local community college for a semester. She loved move-in day, the outfits, the idea of independence, the attention in the dorm hallway. But classes, they bored her. Deadlines bothered her. Professor expectations, somehow unfair. So she came home before midterms and announced that college just wasn't aligned with her creative spirit. Around that same time, she discovered short-form video trends. She started filming little dance videos in the living room. She'd pick songs off whatever app was trending, mimic viral choreography, and upload. Sometimes she pranked my dad while he fixed the sink or filmed makeup transitions under the cheap ring light she bought online. She called it building a brand. Meanwhile, reality was tightening its grip on our household. My father's job at the HVAC company started slowing down. Fewer service calls, fewer contracts. My mother's hours at the clothing store fluctuated constantly. Bills began stacking, mortgage notices, utility statements, insurance premiums. One evening, they pulled me aside in the kitchen. The fridge hummed. The fluorescent light flickered. My father rubbed his hands together like he was trying to warm them, though the room wasn't cold. My mother stared at the table. They told me they were behind on the mortgage. I was 23, fresh into nursing. I wasn't making much, but I was steady. So I offered. I took over the mortgage payments, then the utilities, then groceries. And before long, nearly every bill in that house flowed through my hands. Back then, I told myself it was temporary, just until things stabilized, just until Lyra figured out her path, just until the next season changed. But seasons came and went, and nothing changed except my exhaustion. I worked 12-hour shifts in the pediatric unit at St. Jude's Regional. Nights mostly. The halls always smelled faintly of antiseptic and melted plastic from medical equipment. The monitors beeped steadily, a rhythm I could recognize half asleep. I'd hold tiny hands, soothe frightened parents, and help children breathe easier through pain. That work mattered. It filled my chest with something warm and steady. But at home, I was invisible. I would come through the door after a night shift and find Lyra in the living room filming a dance routine, blasting music. My mother would sit watching her, like she was witnessing something divine. My father would say, "Look at her go. She's got talent." I'd collapse onto the couch, shoes still on, badge still clipped, mind aching from chart notes and emergency calls. No one noticed. And when Lyra needed new makeup palettes for content, I paid. When she needed better camera quality, I paid. Gas money, I paid. Every time, she promised, "I'll pay you back when I blow up." And every time, I believed her, with just enough hope to feel foolish later. Years passed like that, me working, paying, holding the structure together, while Lyra chased the spotlight and my parents cheered her on. Until everything changed. One video of hers went viral. One. And suddenly Lyra wasn't just the family favorite. She was the city's new influencer darling. Brand deals, sponsored content, national campaigns, a 6-figure check hitting her account within weeks. She moved out, leased a luxury apartment downtown, bought a new car with custom detailing, posted photos in hotel lounges, rooftop pools, and designer boutiques. My parents, they were ecstatic. They bragged about her to anyone who would listen. Our Lyra is famous now. And me, I kept working, paying, holding the house together, as always. But the shift wasn't just in money. It was in the way they looked at me now. Like I wasn't just unremarkable. I was a failure. The breaking point came on Thanksgiving. The table was full. The house crowded. Relatives passing dishes and laughter bouncing against every wall. I mentioned a difficult case at work, saving a child from respiratory collapse. Before I finished the sentence, my mother smiled, lifted her wine glass toward Lyra, and said, "Well, Lyra makes more in 1 month than nurses do in a whole year. She's our real pride." Everyone laughed, and I felt something in me go absolutely, unforgivably quiet, because that was the moment I realized it didn't matter how much I gave. It didn't matter that I kept this family alive for years. They were never going to see me, not until I made them. And I would, but not with kindness. Not anymore. After that Thanksgiving dinner, I stopped trying to explain myself. I didn't argue. I didn't defend my work. I didn't try to make them understand the value of a life lived quietly, steadily, responsibly. I just went back to my shift that night and charted vitals under fluorescent lights while the pediatric ward hummed around me. A baby recovering from heart surgery whimpered, and I rocked her gently until her breathing steadied. I reassured frantic parents, adjusted lines, and watched monitors glow in the dark. And somewhere in the middle of those hours, I decided on something I had never allowed myself before. I would stop being the foundation for a family who only cared about the walls they could show off. I didn't say anything right away. Decisions like this don't need announcements. They need patience. They need observation. They need timing. So I waited. The first shift in the dynamic came about a month later. Lyra had settled fully into her new influencer life. Photo shoots, brunches in rooftop restaurants, late-night events, brand meetups. She posted pictures of herself smiling under ring lights that cost more than my monthly groceries. She traveled to Los Angeles and Miami, tagging hotel suites with captions like, "Work hard, live soft." I didn't comment. Not once. The family did enough cheering for all of us. But quietly, so quietly no one noticed, I began pulling back. I stopped doing the little things that held the house together. Not big things. Not dramatic shifts. Just small supports removed, inch by inch. The kind of things people don't notice until they collapse. I stopped reorganizing the kitchen. I stopped restocking the pantry before it ran empty. I stopped reminding my father about due dates or helping my mother with online bill pay. I stopped leaving grocery lists on the fridge. And then one day, when the mortgage reminder came through, I didn't pay it immediately. Not out of spite, out of clarity. I had carried this responsibility alone for almost 9 years. 9 years of overtime. 9 years of missed weekends. 9 years of exhaustion buried under their blind admiration for someone who contributed nothing. It was time they understood the value of what they had so casually consumed. I let the due date pass. My father came to me 2 days later. He knocked on my bedroom door, not angrily, just bewildered. "Hey, the bank sent a notice. Did you forget to make the payment?" The idea that I might forget almost made me laugh. I looked up from the medical chart I was reviewing and said simply, "I didn't forget." He blinked, waiting for the rest. I offered none. He tried again. "So are you paying it later?" "No," I said. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "What do you mean, no?" I closed the laptop and met his eyes. "I mean, I'm done. I've covered this house for 9 years. You and Mom can ask Lyra now. She's the successful one." His jaw tightened, not with anger, with disbelief, like I had violated some unspoken family contract that only ever existed for me. "But she's busy," he said. "She's working. She's traveling. She's earning more in a month than I do in a year." I finished. "Yes, I know. You've told me." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. But there was nothing left for him to say. He walked away. The next day, my mother tried. Her tone was lighter, coaxing, like she was asking me for help moving a sofa, not asking me to sacrifice my entire life again. "Marina, sweetheart, we know you've done a lot. Truly. But right now just isn't a good time for us financially. Your father's still looking for full-time work, and Lyra is adjusting to her new commitments. You're the dependable one. You always have been." I smiled. A real smile. Gentle. Calm. "No." She froze. "You'll need to ask Lyra," I said, "since she's the pride and joy. She can take over now." A crack went through her expression. The kind of crack that appears only when reality finally forces someone to see what they've refused to acknowledge. But she didn't argue. She just nodded stiffly and left the room. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. The next part happened faster than even I expected. Lyra was sitting in her apartment 2 cities over, probably drinking iced coffee while arranging products for a haul video when my parents called her. I didn't hear the conversation, but I saw the aftermath. She drove home 2 days later in her glossy white luxury car, stepping out in platform shoes and a tailored coat, sunglasses still on inside the house. She didn't hug anyone. She set her purse on the table like it was the centerpiece. Then she came to my doorway, arms crossed. "So, you're refusing to help now?" she asked, voice smooth, almost theatrical. "No," I said. I'm choosing not to be exploited anymore. Her eyebrows lifted, surprise flickering into something sharper. Exploited? You volunteered to help. Volunteered the first year. I corrected. After that, everyone just expected it. She scoffed. I thought you cared about this family. I did. I said I cared enough to keep it alive, while everyone else pretended they were doing their best. Her jaw clenched. You could have said something. I did. I held her gaze. For 9 years. In every quiet way a person can ask for help. You just never listened. She swallowed hard. For the first time, something like fear cracked through her certainty. Not fear of me. Fear of responsibility. Responsibility she had never carried. Responsibility she had never thought she would have to. Then she said it, the sentence that told me I had made the right choice. You're jealous. I almost laughed. Truly, I had cared for dying children, held their parents while they sobbed, worked double shifts to keep a roof over this family, and she believed I wanted her ring lights and discount codes. I'm not jealous, I said quietly. I'm done. She was the one who looked away first. The house fell apart fast after that. My mother panicked when the second mortgage notice came. My father snapped more often. Groceries thinned. The lights flickered when the electric bill ran late. The dishwasher broke and stayed broken. The faucet dripped for weeks. For the first time, my parents saw the world without me cushioning it. For the first time, they saw who had actually held the family together all those years. But by then, it was far too late, because I was already planning something bigger, something final, something they would never forget. And it would not come from anger. It would come from truth. The truth of what they had done. The truth of what I had carried. The truth of what they had taken from me and given to someone who never deserved it. And when I exposed that truth, none of them would be able to pretend they didn't know who the real backbone of this family had always been. The reckoning was coming, and it would be quiet, precise, and impossible to ignore. Winter came early that year, the kind of cold that settles into your lungs when you breathe. I worked extra holiday shifts, not out of necessity anymore, but by choice. I found peace in the hospital during December. The halls decorated with paper snowflakes, children wearing tiny Santa hats, nurses exchanging small gifts. Warmth in a place that understood quiet hardship. Home felt like a stranger's house now. I slept, showered, left. No conversations. No updates. No apologies. One evening after back-to-back shifts, I came home to find my father sitting at the kitchen table, head in his hands. Bills spread across the surface like scattered leaves. My mother stood by the counter, eyes red. The house was dim. The heating turned low to save money. They didn't see me walk in. What they said told me everything I needed to know. We gave everything to Lyra, my mother whispered. We gave everything to Lyra, my mother whispered. Everything. And she can't even pick up one bill. My father's voice was hoarse. We thought she was our future. And Marina, my mother asked, we thought she'd always be here. He said quietly, always. Those words should have comforted me. But they didn't. They broke me in a way I didn't expect. Not because they admitted their mistake, but because they only realized it when the money disappeared. I stepped into the kitchen. They looked up, startled. My father opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. No dramatics. No raised voices. I simply said, you treated me like I was the backup plan, the safety net, the insurance policy, not a daughter. My mother's lip trembled. We didn't mean. You didn't need to mean it. You just needed to see it. And you never did. My father stood. We're sorry. Not a grand apology. Not beautifully phrased. Not enough to undo 9 years. But it was the first real apology I had ever heard from them. I nodded. acceptance, not forgiveness. There is a difference. But what about Lyra? She never apologized, never acknowledged what she took from me. If anything, she doubled down, posting online about overcoming unsupportive environments while she built her empire. The irony could choke a man. She moved further into her influencer persona, new stylists, new manager, new luxury apartment with glass walls and skyline views. She filmed motivational monologues about hard work while wearing jewelry I unknowingly paid for when I covered her expenses in the early years. And people adored her. Millions of them. But the thing about building a life out of performance is that you forget what's real. And Lyra had no real foundation, no discipline, no savings, no sense of consequence. So when her contract with the fashion brand required her to pay out of pocket for delayed deliverables, that hit her account. When her manager negotiated a deal requiring upfront travel and production, not reimbursed until campaign completion, that hit her account. When she failed to track her taxes, believing her raw income was hers to spend, that hit her account hard. The IRS doesn't care how pretty your hair looks under ring light. And Lyra didn't have someone like me maintaining the structure quietly behind her. By spring, her money was thinning. By summer, her credit cards were maxed. By autumn, she sold the luxury car. She returned home one afternoon in an Uber, carrying only 2 suitcases. My mother ran to her, arms open. My father hovered behind. I stood at the top of the hallway stairs, silent. Lyra didn't look glamorous anymore. No styled hair, no camera-ready makeup, just a girl who finally understood what it meant to fall. She didn't say hello. She didn't hug me. She just looked at me like she was trying very hard not to cry. I didn't move toward her. I didn't comfort her. I didn't say, "It's okay," because it wasn't. And she needed to feel that. She needed to understand the weight of everything I carried alone. She swallowed hard. "I lost everything." "No," I said softly. "You're just seeing everything clearly for the first time." Her eyes filled. "I didn't know how much you did. I didn't know. You didn't want to know." She nodded. Finally, honesty. We stood there in silence. Then I said the sentence she never expected. "Sit down. I'll help you, but you will learn, and you will work, and you will contribute. No more living off someone else's backbone." She nodded again, tears falling this time. That was enough. Not forgiveness, not reunion, but the first step toward accountability. It took 2 years for things to rebalance. Lyra worked part-time at a bakery while rebuilding her online presence, this time with authenticity, not performance. Her content shifted to budgeting, humility, and quiet crafting. Small audience, slower growth, real growth. My parents began selling handmade wooden crafts at local markets to support themselves. My father regained a sense of purpose. My mother learned how to manage bills again. They treated me differently now, not like the background character of the family story, but like a person whose steadiness had value beyond convenience. As for me, I moved out, bought my own townhouse near the hospital, painted the walls light blue, planted lavender outside the window, a space that was finally mine, quiet, warm, steady, the kind of life I had always deserved. But here's the truth, the real revenge. I didn't destroy them. I didn't shame them. I didn't make them suffer. I simply stopped saving them. And when the safety net disappeared, they finally learned to stand on their own. That was enough. That was everything. And now, I live a life where I am no longer invisible. Not because they finally see me, but because I finally see myself. If you've ever been the one who carried the weight while someone else received the praise, If you've ever been the backbone, no one noticed. If you've ever given and given until you forgot yourself, I hope my story reminds you. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to choose yourself. Now tell me in the comments.